Hi, folks. Welcome to Crisco's Corner. Welcome back. And those of you that are new, welcome. Putin threatens nuclear war, mobilizes reservists. This is from timcast.com. Russian president said he is not bluffing in televised address to his nation. Is just a strongman ploy? I really don't know, to be honest with you. Let's read on. In a broadcast on September 21st, Russian President Vladimir Putin issued a tactic threat to use nuclear weapons against the West, marking another escalation in the conflict surrounding Russia's invasion of Ukraine. I'm not taking sides, but sometimes, even if they're crazy, you have to put yourself in your opponent's state of mind or side to get an idea how to proceed. It's a tough thing to do, but the good tacticians, and even politicians for that matter, are good at it. Put yourself in your opponent's position. Putin painted himself into a corner. His back is against the wall. Use any analogy you want to use. And like a dangerous, wounded animal, they're going to lash out. Now, what he lashes out with, who the hell knows? In this case, nukes. Now, I don't know what's going to happen. I am not an expert on Russian military, to be sure, or the mind of Vladimir Putin. And we can speculate if the election in 2020 had turned out differently, whether this would even be being talked about. But here we are nonetheless. I think he's against the wall. And Putin's statement filed accusations that the NATO countries are pursuing policies of mounting nuclear blackmail and come at a time his country is losing support for the Ukraine war. NATO needs to fight their own wars. Trump has said that. Many conservatives have said that. The normal Democrats that are left behind closed doors whisper it. Why are we always the one that have to come to their aid militarily, financially? This is a no-win situation. What do you do? What do you do? Those of you that are old enough, they're quite a bit older, remember the Cuban Missile Crisis and how Kennedy somehow, some way, made it so Khrushchev could save face. Is it too late for that? Maybe. But you're Vladimir Putin, and we'll say that he's not insane for the sake of this argument. And slowly over time, since the dissolution of the Soviet Union in the 90s, which he just horrifies him as part of Russian history, he wants the old Soviet Union back. It will never happen, of course. And meanwhile, since the dissolving of the Soviet Union, a lot of the former Eastern European countries are now part of NATO, i.e. Poland. And other small countries, Moldova, I mean, there's a few there. And he sees a threat to his country getting closer and closer and closer over the last few decades. Did he miscalculate when he invaded Ukraine? Absolutely. There's absolutely nobody can argue that. But what do you do now? To those who allow themselves such statements regarding Russia, this is Putin talking. I want to remind you that our country has various means of destruction, and for separate components and more modern than those of NATO countries. And when the territorial integrity of our country, and there's the key word right there, territorial integrity of our country is threatened, to protect Russia and our people, we will certainly use all the means at our disposal. Putin, in his first address to the nation since February, also announced he is mobilizing 300,000 reservists, which he said will apply to those with previous military experience. Shortly after the speech, flights from Moscow to Istanbul, Turkey is somewhat of an ally of Russia. Istanbul were completely sold out while the price of other flights to leave Russia soared, and they show some prices there. Mobilization introduces a completely new dynamic to Russian society. Konrad Muska told Sky News. Many males will want to leave the country as soon as possible to avoid being sent to Ukraine. The sellout of tickets to Turkey only confirms that. Russian citizens also took to the streets in protest. And we have a foreign policy spokesman for the European Commission. All these talking heads, they don't know crap, to be honest with you. Call Putin's threat a very dangerous nuclear game. That is true. And there's the international community to pressure Russian leader to stop such reckless behavior. Like what? Like what? What are you going to threaten them with? Annihilation? Oh, good idea. Russia is a former nuclear power holding the largest number of nuclear weapons in the world, currently at 6,255 nuclear warheads, while the U.S. has 5,550. The 2019 report shows that Russia has targets on both the east and west coasts of the U.S. Well, of course it does, just like we have targets within Russia. And its sites and would be able to deliver a nuclear missile to a terrestrial U.S. target in less than 5 minutes via a submarine-launched hypersonic missile. However, in June, a Russian lawmaker stated that his first city his country would strike would be London, which I was at in the early 80s. I love England. I just wish its government and its laws were different. If Russia were to detonate a nuclear weapon over London similar to RT-2MP Topo SS-25, which has an 800 kiloton yield, the fireball radius would be a square mile. The thermal radiation radius, third-degree burns, would be 148 square miles. Wow. And the blast radius would exceed 400 square miles, according to Nuke map. There will be also estimated 929,000 plus fatalities and more than 2.2 million people injured. In his televised address, Putin assured his citizens he is not bluffing and signed a decree on September 21st extending the contracts of Russian soldiers fighting in Ukraine until the end of the partial mobilization period, according to The Guardian. Question, everyone, especially the Biden voters. Do you think that Biden has a mental capacity to give orders as the commander-in-chief of the armed forces of the United States with a 5-minute warning that Washington or other cities in the U.S. will be impacted? Do you really honestly believe that's what you voted for, just to get rid of Donald Trump and the mean tweets? The problem is, though, you have to live with your mistakes, and that's fine. But the rest of us have to live with them as well. So I'm asking you, what the hell were you thinking? Just pure emotion. Just pure emotion. And here we are on the brink, at least in my lifetime, besides the Cuban Missile Crisis when I was a young boy, of nuclear war. Putin miscalculated. How is he going to get out of this? And we going to make it impossible for him to do it? Or are we going to sit down and try to negotiate peace? It does not make you a Putin supporter. I think he's totally wrong. I think his whole entire government will collapse after this. Even if there isn't nuclear exchange. I think he's finished. And I think he knows it. And I think the Russian dream of having at least a partial restored Soviet Union is also dead. So what do you do? Do we have the intelligence and the people in place to negotiate and try to figure this out? I don't think we do. So remember, folks, when you vote, it has serious, serious consequences. Until the next time, goodbye and good luck.